Why do U.S. celebrate Teacher Appreciation Day? The real story no one knows. The Forgotten Hero. Why does an entire nation pause to thank the people who stand at the front of classrooms, guiding young minds, shaping futures, and inspiring dreams? The answer begins with a forgotten hero, a woman whose voice echoed in empty halls until it reached the highest seat of power. It was the early 1940s, a time when teachers were seen but rarely valued. Mattye Whyte Woodridge, an African-American teacher from Little Rock, Arkansas, knew this better than anyone. She had spent years watching her fellow educators work late, buy supplies with their own money, and pour their hearts into children who were often ignored by society. But as the world moved on, teachers remained invisible. Mattye believed this needed to change. But who would listen? Who would care? Most saw teachers as just doing their jobs, but Mattye saw them as heroes, unsung, unrecognized, but essential. So she began to write, not just to her friends, not just to her local school board, but to the highest offices in America. She wrote letters to lawmakers, education officials, and even to the White House. In each letter, she told the stories of teachers who gave everything and received nothing. Stories of those who changed lives but were forgotten. But for a long time, her letters seemed to disappear into silence. Then one day, someone noticed. Her words reached the desk of First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, a woman known for her fierce advocacy of human rights. Eleanor read Mattye's plea and saw the truth. Teachers were the quiet foundation of society. They were the ones who built the future, one child at a time. Eleanor did not just read Mattye's letter. She acted. She spoke about the importance of teachers at public events. She reached out to lawmakers, urging them to recognize the dedication of educators. But her influence went beyond speeches. She fought for a national day to honor teachers. But even with the support of the First Lady, change did not come easily. Congress was focused on wars, politics, and crises. They dismissed the idea as unnecessary. To them, teachers were public servants who did their jobs, nothing more. But Mattye did not give up. Eleanor did not give up. Together, they became a force. Finally, in 1953, Congress recognized National Teacher Day. It was a victory, but it was also a beginning, a spark that would one day ignite a nationwide movement. But why was this moment so important? Why did Mattye fight so hard? Because she knew that teachers were more than just educators. They were mentors, guides, protectors, the ones who saw potential where others saw problems. And yet, even with this recognition, the struggle was far from over. But the story doesn't end here. It was just the first step in a battle that would continue for decades, because a day is not enough to honor those who build the future. But why wasn't one day enough? Why did the recognition of teachers feel like a brief spark in a dark room? Because in the years that followed, the appreciation faded, and teachers returned to being invisible. Even as Mattye Whyte Woodridge celebrated the victory of National Teacher Day, she saw the truth. Most schools ignored it. Most teachers didn't even know it existed. And in Washington, where laws were made, recognition meant nothing without commitment. But Mattye's dream was not over. Others saw what she saw. Across America, educators began to speak up. They knew that one day was not enough, not for those who built futures, healed wounds, and lifted broken spirits. And then, a new force stepped forward. The National Education Association, NEA. With a voice louder and stronger than any one teacher, they fought for something more, not just a day, but a week, a full week of recognition and appreciation. But even the NEA faced resistance. Lawmakers claimed it was unnecessary, just another celebration in an already crowded calendar. But the NEA was relentless. They spoke with the voices of millions of teachers, parents, and students who knew the truth, and in 1984, they won. The first full week of May was declared Teacher Appreciation Week, with Tuesday as National Teacher Day. It was a victory built on the dreams of Mattye, the advocacy of Eleanor, and the persistence of educators everywhere. But even this victory was just the beginning, because appreciation is not just about flowers and cards. It is about respect, support, and a nation that understands the value of those who teach. But for Mattye Whyte Woodridge, who never stopped fighting, it was a moment of triumph, a moment that proved that one voice, a voice that refused to be silent, could change the world. But what happens when a society forgets its teachers? What is the true cost of ignoring those who shape young minds? The answer is written in stories of struggle, of exhaustion, of educators who gave everything and received nothing in return. As the 1960s and 1970s unfolded, the world changed. Technology advanced, politics shifted, and society evolved. But for teachers, little changed. They worked late nights, spent their own money on supplies, and tried to inspire students who faced a world of distractions. And yet, the appreciation promised by National Teacher Day seemed to vanish. Most schools ignored it, treating it as just another date on the calendar. Most teachers never received so much as a thank you. But while the world looked away, some teachers refused to be silent. They shared their stories. Stories of students who came to school hungry, of classrooms with broken windows, of parents who blamed them for everything but never offered support. One of those teachers was Linda Graham, a fifth-grade teacher in Detroit, who turned her living room into a makeshift classroom during a blizzard to ensure her students didn't miss their lessons. Another was Carlos Rivera, a science teacher in Los Angeles who spent his weekends tutoring students who couldn't afford private lessons. These teachers did not teach for money, for fame, or for recognition. They taught because they believed. They believed in the power of knowledge, in the potential of young minds, in the idea that one person could change a life. But their belief did not pay their bills. It did not fix their classrooms. It did not protect them from burnout. The stories of teachers like Linda and Carlos reached the ears of the National Education Association, NEA. They saw what was happening. They knew that a single day of appreciation was not enough. Teachers needed more than words. They needed support. So the NEA made a bold decision. They would fight for something bigger. A full week of appreciation, a national celebration that could not be ignored. And they would not stop until every teacher in America knew that they were valued. But even that would not be enough. Because teacher appreciation is not just about a week. It is about changing a culture. It is about a nation that understands the value of those who educate its future. And for Mattye Whyte Woodridge, who had once been just a lone voice, it was proof that a dream could become a movement. Teacher Appreciation Week may seem like a cheerful celebration today, a week of thank you cards, flowers, and smiling students. But behind the colorful decorations is a history of struggle, of teachers who refused to be invisible, and of voices that demanded to be heard. By the 1980s, the NEA had become a force. They knew that a single day of recognition was not enough, not for those who shaped the nation's future. They launched a campaign demanding more, not just a moment, but a movement. They called for a full week of appreciation, a time when every school, every classroom, and every community would pause to honor educators. But even this idea faced resistance. Lawmakers claimed it was unnecessary, just another celebration in an already crowded calendar. But the NEA did not give up. They rallied teachers across the country. They shared stories of educators who went above and beyond, the teachers who bought supplies with their own money, who stayed after school to help struggling students, who became mentors, role models, even second parents. And the stories were powerful. There was Mrs. Thompson in Chicago, who transformed a failing classroom by believing in her students. Mr. Chen in San Francisco, who taught science in a classroom without a lab, using his own money to create experiments. Ms. Patel in New York, who opened her home to a homeless student, giving them a chance to graduate. The NEA showed the nation a truth that could not be ignored, that teachers were not just educators, they were heroes. Finally, in 1984, the movement succeeded. The first full week of May was declared Teacher Appreciation Week, with Tuesday officially recognized as National Teacher Day. It was a victory built on the dreams of Mattye, the advocacy of Eleanor, and the persistence of educators everywhere. But even this victory was just the beginning, because appreciation is not just about gifts or cards. It is about respect. It is about a culture that values those who shape young minds. Yet even with this recognition, the fight was not over, because recognition must be more than a week. It must be a way of life. The cost of ignoring teachers is a debt that society pays in silence. It is paid in classrooms where educators spend their own money to buy basic supplies, in schools where teachers stay after hours to help struggling students without being paid. It is paid in stories like Mrs. Johnson, who taught art in a windowless room because her school couldn't afford a proper classroom. It is paid in the tears of Mr. Ramirez, who lost a student to violence and blamed himself for not being able to save them. But the cost goes beyond the walls of a classroom. When teachers are ignored, entire generations suffer. Dreams are lost. Potential is wasted. A child who could have become a doctor, a scientist, a leader, instead becomes a statistic. And all because the one person who believed in them, their teacher, was left powerless, unheard, unrecognized. But there is another cost, a cost to the soul of a society that claims to value education but turns its back on those who provide it. When teachers are treated as mere employees, when their voices are silenced, when their sacrifices are forgotten, it is not just an insult, it is a betrayal. And that is why Teacher Appreciation Week is more than just a celebration. It is a reminder that behind every successful student, every thriving community, every future leader, there is a teacher who refused to give up, a teacher who believed. But what does it truly mean to appreciate a teacher? Is it a thank you card handed out once a year? Is it a bouquet of flowers, a coffee gift card, a quick thank you in the hallway? Or is it something deeper? Something more profound? True appreciation is understanding that behind every lesson plan, every test, and every lecture, there is a human being, a person who chose to stand at the front of a classroom and change lives. A person who sacrificed sleep, peace of mind, and sometimes their own dreams to help others reach theirs. And yet, how often do we see them? How often do we truly understand their struggles? The nights they spend worrying about a student's home life, the weekends they spend grading papers, the moments they sacrifice with their own families because they believe in something greater, the promise of young minds. True appreciation is not just words, it is action. It is funding classrooms properly. It is supporting teachers with resources. It is respecting their expertise. It is listening when they speak. It is making them feel valued. Not just during 1 week in May, but every day. And this is the lesson that Mattye Whyte Woodridge understood. It is the truth that Eleanor Roosevelt fought for. It is the battle that the NEA continues to wage, because a society that forgets its teachers forgets its own future. But this story is not just about the teachers of the past. It is about those who stand in classrooms today, those who continue to inspire, to protect, to build, those who choose, day after day, to believe in the power of education. Because true appreciation is not a gift, it is a promise. But why do teachers keep going? Why do they stand before classrooms day after day, even when the world seems to forget them? The answer is simple. Because they believe. They believe in the power of knowledge. They believe that even the quietest student can become a leader. They believe that every child, no matter their background, has a light within them waiting to shine. But belief is not easy. It is a choice made every day, to show up, to stay patient, to try again. It is a choice made by Mrs. Carter, who teaches art in a school with no budget for supplies. Every painting is a miracle of recycled paper and donated colors. It is a choice made by Mr. Lopez, who walks through dangerous neighborhoods to reach his classroom, because he knows his students need a safe place. It is a choice made by Ms. Ung, who spends her own money on winter coats for her students because she cannot bear to see them shivering. It is a choice made by Mr. Patel, who teaches math not just as numbers, but as a language of possibility, because he knows his students have potential they cannot yet see. These are the silent sacrifices of teachers, the extra hours, the lost weekends, the sleepless nights. They are not recorded in textbooks. They are not mentioned in awards. But they are real, and they change lives. Because for every child who goes on to achieve greatness, there was a teacher who refused to give up on them. But if these sacrifices remain unseen, if these heroes are forgotten, then what is the point of Teacher Appreciation Day? The answer is simple. It is a chance to see, a chance to remember, a chance to honor those who have always believed in us, even when we did not believe in ourselves. And so we come to the heart of this story. Teacher Appreciation Day is not just a celebration. It is a promise that we will not forget those who stand at the front of classrooms, who believe in the impossible, who never give up, even when the world does. It is a promise that we will remember Mrs. Carter, who turned scraps into art, that we will remember Mr. Lopez, who walked through danger because he believed in his students, that we will remember Miss Ung, who gave her students warmth, and Mr. Patel, who showed them the infinite power of numbers. But most of all, it is a promise to never forget those who built our future. Because behind every great scientist, artist, doctor, leader, or creator, there is a teacher. But what can you do? You can do more than just say thank you. You can listen. You can support. You can advocate for better funding, better conditions, better respect. Because teachers deserve more than flowers and cards. They deserve a world that values their sacrifice. And if you are a teacher watching this, know this: you are seen. You are valued. You are a hero. This is Uncle Luke, and if you loved this story, if it made you remember the teachers who changed your life, please like, comment, and subscribe to Uncle Luke Tells for more powerful stories that bring history and humanity to life. Because the greatest stories are the ones we live every day.